In this video, we're going to introduce the idea of titration. Titration can be used for a few different purposes, and it's a technique that we're going to return to after we've talked about reversible reactions and chemical equilibrium much later down the line. At its core, though, titration is really just a stoichiometric technique. It's one example of a general class of methods that you see on this slide called quantitative analysis methods, quantitative chemical analysis. And so the video here is going to be based on section 5.4 in the OpenStax textbook, and the focus in that section is really on the stoichiometric aspects of titration. There are some more complex aspects that you'll get into later in your chemical education. For now, what we're about to find out is that titration allows us to use a known molarity and measured volume of one solution to determine an unknown molarity in another solution. And this is the basic goal in any titration. So let's start with quantitative analysis in general, though. Quantitative analysis is the determination of the amount or concentration of a substance in an unknown sample. For example, some water that we pulled out of a river, right? Or a sample of a product in a factory, something along these lines. What we do is we start with a known substance that reacts with or engages with the unknown substance and use a known chemical reaction with known stoichiometry. We know the coefficients, all that jazz, and we use what we know to go from the known amount of substance to an unknown amount of substance. And an example is given at the bottom of the slide. The concentration of acetic acid, CH3CO2H in vinegar, can be determined from the amount of potassium carbonate, K2CO3, needed to consume it. So I measure out a mass of potassium carbonate. I know that it's all potassium carbonate. It's in pure form. I add that to my vinegar sample, keep adding it until all the vinegar is consumed, and based on the mass of K2CO3 that I added and the volume of the acetic acid solution, the vinegar that I started with, I can determine the molarity of acetic acid in the vinegar. This is a kind of high-level idea of what goes on with quantitative chemical analysis. We take a known substance, known concentration, known mass, some measurement of that known substance, and apply that to determine some quantitative information about an unknown substance. Now, in a titration, we're specifically doing a reaction in solution and dripping one solution of one reactant into a solution of the other reactant in a highly controlled way that allows us to measure volume very precisely. So we use a special piece of glassware for this that's a very long, thin tube with graduations. It's called a burette. And in the burette sits the known solution, what we call the titrant. The titrant is dripped into the solution of the unknown component, which is called the analyte. That unknown solution is called the analyte solution. And we keep doing that until some change is observed that indicates that the reaction has just completed. And as liquid leaves the burette, we make volume measurements to determine how much volume of titrant solution we added. And we can use that to work stoichiometrically to the concentration of analyte in the analyte solution. The endpoint is empirically where we observe the reaction to be over. That's not exactly the theoretical end of the reaction. The theoretical end of the reaction is known as the equivalence point, that point where we've added just enough of the titrant solution to fully use up the analyte. And in a good titration, the empirically observed endpoint and the theoretical equivalence point will be very close to one another. Titration is most often done with acids and bases. They react very quickly and in ways that allow us to easily detect when the reaction is over using pH indicators that change color as soon as an acid or base is completely used up. So for example, if our analyte is an acid, that's sort of what I'm going for here with the blue solution here. If the analyte is an acid, HA, our titrant is a strong base, OH-. OH- reacts with HA to produce A- and H2O. If the analyte is a base, we would put an acidic solution in the burette and drip it in such that H3O plus reacts with B to form HB plus and H2O. And the idea, again, is that as soon as we've added just enough H3O plus to use up all the B, a color change is observed at the end point. In the acidic titration, as soon as we've added enough OH minus from the burette to fully use up HA, a color change is observed, and we can use the measured volume of that OH minus solution, the known molarity of OH minus in the titrant solution, and work our way to the moles and molarity in the original HA solution. Let's do that now in a practice problem. And so what I'm actually going to do is start out by drawing a picture of our titration setup and labeling a couple of things. We have a titration of a sample of aqueous HCl, and before any titrant is added to that solution, we have 50 milliliters of it. This is the volume we're primarily concerned with, right? Since once we've added titrant to the analyte solution, it's not really analyte solution anymore, right? It's a mixture of the analyte and the titrant. And so when we go to calculate the molarity of the HCl, which is our final goal here, we're going to use 50 milliliters as the volume to do that in conjunction with the number of moles of HCl that we find by working our way through the problem. In the burette, we have a solution of sodium hydroxide, or NaOH, and the problem tells us here that the molarity of NaOH in there, which we would represent in square brackets, right, NaOH in square brackets, is 0.250 moles per liter. That's going to be really important information, since that will tell us how many moles of NaOH we're adding per liter of solution added, or millimoles per milliliter of solution added. We also know from the problem setup that to reach the end point, we had to add 35.23 milliliters of this sodium hydroxide solution. And our goal, again, is to determine the molarity of the HCl. What's underlined in purple here is also really important. We need to understand how the analyte and titrant react, specifically their stoichiometric ratio, their mole-mole ratio. Here, the mole-mole ratio is 1:1. That's not always true in titrations, but here, and frequently in titrations, it is true that the molar ratio of the titrant to the analyte is 1:1. This keeps the calculation simple and keeps our thinking clearer. All right, so where do we go from here? Well, here actually I would encourage you to pause and think about this in solution stoichiometry terms. Develop a flow chart like we've been doing, going from what you know to what you want to know, and then think about how you would step along each step on that flow chart to build out this calculation. All right, I hope you paused and took a second to think about it. Where I would start with this is the knowledge of the volume of sodium hydroxide. So I'm going to run out of colors here, but I'm going to do the flowchart in pink now. We know the volume of sodium hydroxide. That's at 35.23 milliliters. And from the known molarity of the sodium hydroxide, I can get to the moles of NaOH. Go ahead and write that out as mole NaOH. From the moles of NaOH, I can use the balanced chemical equation, like a recipe, right, and the stoichiometric coefficients to determine the moles of HCl that reacted with that amount of NaOH. So in that volume of NaOH, there was some number of moles of NaOH particles. That number of moles corresponds to some number of moles of HCl molecules that reacted with the NaOH. And then to get to the molarity of HCl from the moles of HCl, well, in that case, all I'm going to do is divide by that 50 milliliters that was the original solution volume. And so all this work here tells me the moles of HCl that were originally present in this analyte solution. And dividing by that 50 milliliters of volume tells me the molarity of HCl in that original solution. Once you've diagrammed out this flow chart, I think the math becomes relatively straightforward. So the first thing I'm going to do just to work through the math here is convert the volume of NaOH solution into liters. So 0.03523 liters is the volume of that sodium hydroxide solution that we used. We then need to apply the molarity of NaOH to get to the moles of NaOH. That's 0.250 moles per liter of solution. And that's moles of NaOH. I should really tack that on, right? Because we like to carry around chemical formulas when we write moles. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to move this down a little bit. There we go. And now I need to go from the moles of NaOH to the moles of HCl. Thankfully, one HCl reacts with one NaOH in the titration reaction here. This is the reaction that occurs as we drip that titrant into the analyte solution in the Erlenmeyer flask. And then now you'll notice this entire calculation is going to lead me from the liters of sodium hydroxide solution through to the moles of HCl. And so to find the molarity of the HCl overall, I'm going to divide this entire deal by 0.0500 liters, or 50 milliliters. I've gone ahead and plugged all these numbers into my calculator, and I ended up with a final molarity of the HCl of 0.176 moles per liter of HCl. So let's take a moment and kind of walk over this problem one more time. The idea was we knew the concentration of the titrant. We always know this. The titrant is a known solution whose concentration is known precisely. We delivered a volume of that titrant into this Erlenmeyer flask, 35.23 milliliters from the burette, and that volume corresponds to the exact amount of NaOH needed to use up all the HCl that was down here. We didn't know the number of moles of HCl initially. In fact, we measured that by measuring the volume of NaOH that needed to be added to use up all of that HCl. And we use stoichiometry to go from the moles of NaOH in this volume at this concentration to the moles of HCl, and then divided by the initial volume, divided by the initial volume of the analyte solution, that 50 milliliters or 0.0500 liters, to determine the molarity in the original solution. And that's the last thing I'll say here, that when we do stoichiometry with titrations, it's important to keep in mind that what we care about is this original analyte solution, not the mixture after we've added titrant. The titrant is just a tool. What we care about is that sample that we pulled out of a river or off the assembly line at the factory, right? We don't care so much about the analyte titrant mixture, at least at this point. In more advanced studies, you'll learn how to use information and measurements of the analyte titrant mixture to gain some interesting insight into the titration reaction. Actually, the properties of this reaction can be probed through titration as well.